What's up everyone, it's Lo, Beauty Demon, and we are back to talk about internet BS. I didn't expect to be making another video so quickly, but there's a lot of BS happening. But before we get into all of it, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. And please don't send anybody any hate, negativity, nothing like that. These are just my thoughts and opinions based on what I'm seeing play out on the internet. So if you have something to say about what we're talking about, just shoot it down in the comments below. That is what they were there for. Like I said, I did not expect to be making another video so quickly after my last video on Dennis, and I definitely didn't expect my next video to be about him until at least maybe his next epic roast battle. But stuff started going down immediately afterwards, and a lot of lies, fabrication, I don't know, a lot of stuff is coming out. Two big main points of focus, though, have been this Vegas comedy show that Dennis said he was booked for, and his former assistant, Tiana, actually coming forward with allegations of a toxic work environment and a horrible work trip that we're going to talk about. First, let's talk about the Vegas show. Now, this Vegas comedy show that Dennis was booked for, he said he was booked for, I believe it was either a Saturday night or Sunday night. I don't know when he was allegedly booked for this comedy show, because as you all know, a lot of people have already let me know in the comments, this comedy show didn't exist. He wasn't actually booked for anything. He actually posted on his Twitter a link, an Eventbrite link, to purchase tickets to this comedy show that he wasn't even really booked for. Believe some people actually did buy tickets, but then two creators, Augie RFC and Nicholas Yorio, actually called this Las Vegas comedy club and asked if Dennis was performing. They had no idea who he was. They didn't know what they were talking about. I believe somebody, I don't know where I saw this, somebody shared the link to the actual show that was going on, and it's actually a TikToker that does medical comedy sketches is the headliner of that show, and then there's a mystery spot, so it's possible maybe that he thought he was going to get in on that. The other weird thing was that he actually shared another one of his thirst trap pictures and said he was in a hotel in Las Vegas, but some people noticed that the actual location tag of the Instagram picture was in Los Angeles. He had since deleted that photo because it did have the Eventbrite ticket link, but reposted it and just, I think he changed the location to Paradise or something is what people were saying. I don't know. I don't really want to go look at his Instagram because I don't like looking at those pictures of him. It makes me super uncomfortable. So that was a huge thing that was occurring. Then, now I saw this on Reddit, his former assistant, Tiana, came forward. Now, if you don't know who Tiana is, I would see her a little bit behind the scenes. She wouldn't really talk on the podcast at all. And I didn't know actually what she did. Apparently she was his assistant. Now, I believe she already has a little bit of a TikTok following and is trying to build that social media brand off here, but then, thought it would be a great idea to work with Noodles as an assistant. But I had kind of noticed that she wasn't really around anymore. I thought maybe she just works behind the scenes. I didn't really give it any thought at all because I didn't really care. She made a TikTok though explaining that she doesn't work for Dennis anymore and that he was very difficult to work with and it was a very toxic work environment. Now, she says what really kicked all of it off was their work trip to Burning Man a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm not really sure. Dennis made a video where he went to Burning Man and apparently she was there with him. I didn't watch it because I don't really care. I don't really care about Burning Man. Go off and have your fun, whatever. But she outlines that he completely didn't prepare for this, was completely unprepared for this for the entire thing. Now, he did purchase the plane tickets and the tickets into the festival, but when they got there, they, had to rent a car to drive out because Burning Man is in the middle of the desert. I can't remember what desert it is, though. I did look that up today. It's in Black Rock Desert, that's right. Now, with Burning Man, it is take everything with you and bring everything back. You can't leave anything behind. It's like camping. They were not prepared for that. Now, when they went to go rent their car, Dennis actually presented his driver's license to them and it was expired. It is expired. His license is still expired. It can't have not gotten unexpired within 2 weeks. And so they said, look, we can't rent this car to you if you have an expired driver's license. Of course, my assistant will do it. Well, the trick of that is if she's putting her driver's license down, she also has to be the one that puts her credit card information in and pay for the car. So she had to front the money for for the rental car, which Dennis said is like a Jeep or was like an SUV. I don't know. I didn't watch the video. I didn't see what they were driving around. And then when they get there, she asks them, where are they sleeping? He says to her, I don't plan on sleeping. I plan on working the whole time. You can sleep in the car. What? She didn't know this apparently. She said, I didn't do any research into this, so I was not aware that there is nowhere to buy anything. There aren't like sundry stores or food trucks or pop-ups or anything like that. Like, you bring all your supplies with you. Anything you want, you have to bring with you if you want to guarantee that you're going to have it. So she says she went into this 2-day thing in the desert with half a bottle of water and no food and nowhere to sleep. She wasn't even given a heads up that she was going to be sleeping in a car. She said she maybe would have brought like a pillow or something. I mean, I usually take a pillow with me when I travel on a plane anyway, but like, that's just me. And people were outraged that he would put his worker in this kind of environment, especially like at Burning Man. Like, the desert is very hot during the day, so you always want to make sure that you are very hydrated, but also deserts get really cold at night. And I believe with this particular area where Burning Man is, it's actually like a higher altitude as well, so it gets even colder than the average nighttime temperature. Neither one of them were prepared for this. I also find it kind of alarming that she said he claimed that he was just not going to sleep and he was just going to be working the whole time. That's not an easy feat on its own, and that does kind of explain the disheveled look. Now, in relation to, because like myself and other people have been saying, he doesn't look good. He says that he's preparing for a role that he's filming for a movie next week. So he made a video. He actually made 2 videos. One, he made a whole video doubling down on pushing salvo and all that stuff and how it was setting boundaries and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. I watched the whole thing, but I'm not going to go into it. I did watch his 2-hour podcast on the Deaf Noodles channel, and I actually watched it at 1.5 speed, and sometimes at just double speed. It makes it way better because they actually sound like normal pace speaking instead of just like really long and drawn out. When I bumped it down to normal speed, it literally sounded like they were talking in slow motion. In this, he addresses, once again, the whole roast battle, and then he addresses the Vegas show, and he spins it as he wasn't scamming people with posting that Eventbrite thing. He was getting scammed. And he has this whole crazy story about how this comedian that he really didn't know, he only know for a couple weeks, came up at the last comedy roast battle and said, hey, I'm doing a show in Vegas. You should come out. I could totally get you a spot. Who just like hops on a plane for a potential gig with somebody who's not even actually running the show? Usually when comedians are doing shows, they're not just getting booked by somebody being like, hey, I'm going to be in the show. You be in one too. No, you have like a bunch of other people who have to okay it because, I mean, everybody wants to get paid for their work, right? So Dennis is like, yeah, I'll go and do this. And he got a room that he was told was comped. I don't know if he ever actually ended up paying for that room or not. And then the day of, they're like doing all this stuff. He said they went to an aquarium. If he's in Las Vegas, they probably went to like Mandalay Bay. That's where they have all that stuff and the sharks and things. And that this guy's agent was getting calls from the comedy club that people kept calling in and like he kept updating him, and then they eventually just canceled the show. I don't know if a hotel in Las Vegas would cancel a comedy show because a bunch of people called, and as far as I know, only a couple people called to verify that you were actually performing there, and you weren't. You got caught in a lie. So he continues to spin this story as, well, then this guy was like, you know what? I'm gonna get you another show, because he got dropped from the show and his agent was dropping him, and he's like, I'm gonna get you another show, Dennis. We're gonna go around. He called all these other comedy clubs in Las Vegas, and then he got himself booked, and he was gonna bring Dennis on in his set, and they were gonna do a set together. And it's like, who is this comedian that is helping book Dennis in all of these clubs in Las Vegas? And then he says that the incels found out where the second location was, so when he and his friend rolled up there, they told his friend, which Dennis was not present for any of this stuff. Of course, he was waiting out in the car. The guy came out and said, no, they canceled the show. They all called and harassed this place too, which nobody even knew about this place. So who could have called and harassed this? And this guy's telling Dennis that he's being blackballed in Las Vegas. He's never going to be able to perform there. Nobody wants to work with him. And this just sounds like some like crazy story. Honestly, like I watch a lot of true crime, and I've seen several different true crime stories where people make up that they were kidnapped kidnapped, and they tell all this crazy outlandish stuff. And to be honest, that's what this whole story sounded like. I am not gonna say that this didn't happen to Dennis. I'm not gonna say he didn't go to Las Vegas. Like, I don't know. He could have done all of this stuff. All of this stuff could have been real. But this story is just so weird that this guy was just trying to like essentially pimp him out to different comedy clubs in Las Vegas, but was also like acting like his agent. Like, doesn't Dennis have an agent? Wouldn't Dennis rather go through his agent instead of this dude that he's only known for like 2 weeks? I'm assuming it's a dude. I actually don't really know who this comedian is. The whole thing is just very odd. And I'm pretty sure Dennis said he had a bunch of receipts for all of this and things, and that he would show it if he needed to, and somebody would vouch for him and all this stuff. And Steven agreed, like, yeah, he thought this whole thing was sketch. Like, he shouldn't have gone to Vegas. Steven, his co-host. The whole story's super weird. Instead of him being the one that scammed people with the Eventbrite post and the tickets, he's like, no, you don't understand, like, I got scammed. Now, he did say if anybody did purchase tickets or spent any kind of money to go see him in Las Vegas, he would be refunding any of that and to send him fan emails. And he and Steven also spend a lot of time in this podcast talking about the roast and about Salvo and kind of recapping everything again that we've already gone over and that Dennis has already gone over multiple times, showing the clips of Salvo outside and all of that stuff. But then they do also talk about one moment that I don't know if I just didn't hear it correctly or what. Like I said, it's so hard to tell what's going on when everybody's like yelling and stuff, but it was one of the points where they muted the mics, and they were actually making references to George Floyd, saying I can't breathe and chanting that at these creators, and that's what got them really riled up, and that's why the girl threw the drink on her face. I thought it was just because they were having back and forth discourse. My mistake. I went back after a few people commented, I went and looked, and I was like, oh my god, how did I not hear that? Just so much chaotic stuff happening during this show that it's hard to tell everything that's happening. He addresses all the Tiana allegations. He shows his bank statements. He says, look, what she is saying is a lie. He says, first of all, she didn't even come to work the first week before. She kept saying she was sick and that all this stuff. And so he's really painting her as an unreliable employee, saying that she is inexperienced. He wanted to help train her, things like that. With the kind of antics that he's been having online, like, I am not surprised she wasn't very talkative. He calls out the fact that she was not talkative, kind of paints it almost as like a conspiracy of like she was a troll that came in here from the beginning to just kind of observe and then quit and like spill the tea and stuff. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I can tell Steven does not really want to talk about Tiana. They both started at the same time. I feel like he probably created some sort of like bond with her, and he does say like, look, when we came in and stuff started happening and people were starting to come at us, like, I can understand why she maybe felt like a little more held back and more reserved in the work environment. More or less, that's what he was saying, or at least what I was getting with what he was saying. But Dennis just, like I said, tries to paint her as an unreliable worker. He says before the week of Burning Man, she didn't even come to work. He had to verify with her that she was going to be able to come to Burning Man, because when you buy plane tickets, it is in a person's name. Your name is on that ticket. He said that like once he got her name on the ticket, he couldn't get it refunded. I've actually gotten tickets refunded and been able to still navigate all that, but whatever, maybe it's different for different airlines. And he said, he even verified with her like several days before, and then the day or two before, she was like, well, are you sure? Because it doesn't really work with my schedule. Meanwhile, he also shows that they were like DMing on Twitter. Who just like DMs with their boss on Twitter? Like, you don't have a real direct line of communication. This is your assistant. But he says everything that she says about the Burning Man thing is false. Well, he doesn't, at least I don't remember him addressing the sleeping in the car thing and him saying he wasn't going to sleep, but he says there were multiple times where she was able to get water. In fact, he even offered to buy it for her. And then when they got there, she realized she couldn't buy anything there and she started to freak out. He did say he was able to find somewhere where she was able to buy food there. And at some point they went to like a car wash and he bought her water because he was getting this Jeep detail. That was the other thing. She said that he drove the car there and ended up taking an extra 5 hours because he decided to take their vehicle off-roading instead of just taking the straight road. He wanted to drive all crazy through the desert. I feel like he was having his Hunter Thompson arc in that moment. I thought it was funny. She said when they arrived, he was kind of confused because he didn't totally understand the vibe of Burning Man. He thought it was going to be like a hippie commune where it was actually more like a rave. Didn't you like look up pictures and videos and stuff? I don't know. But he says everything that she is saying is a lie and defamatory. And he says, and now this is a legal matter, that he is talking to his lawyers, that anything that she says, like, they're gonna be looking at, and she better be careful. And that got a lot of backlash in his live stream chat. They couldn't believe that he was actually threatening to take legal action against her, you know, and it's ironic because it's Labor Day of all things. Labor Day, the day that union members fought to be recognized, and here's Dennis shitting on a former employee. Then he dives a little deeper into the conspiracies, and actually, I don't know if it was in the podcast video or if it was in the regular channel video of like addressing Moist Critical, and I don't remember. He posted like 2 videos, you know. But in one of these 2 videos, he dives into conspiracy that all of this backlash, everything that's happening to him is being orchestrated by one person. He's in a lawsuit with somebody right now. So I believe he is alluding to all of this coverage and the tides turning against him on Keemstar. I'm assuming that's kind of what he's alluding to, that Keem is pulling all of the puppet strings of all of this, the entire community. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't have conversations with anybody about Deaf Noodles except for the people in my comments. Keemstar doesn't talk to me. Nobody in Keemstar's camps talk to me. Nobody's in my ear. There's not people pulling the strings. It's just people are starting to really see the real Dennis, and we're not really liking what we're seeing. So when it comes to the Vegas show, that's a very weird, sketchy situation. I'm not totally sure I believe him because, like I said, I watch a lot of true crime, and this screams like Gone Girl. And then the whole Tiana thing, just the whole painting her as a bad employee and whatnot and unreliable. I don't know. Obviously, there are 2 sides to every story, and then there's the truth when it comes to that, but it was just in poor taste. And then the fact that he's like, well, I'm going to take legal action against her for saying all this stuff, and I'm assuming like hurting my brand. I think you might have a hard time proving that she's the reason that you are like losing income when it is evident that before she even said anything, you were already on a downward trajectory and she actually got out at the right moment. Anyway, that is it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and please also check out my other channel, Nostalgia. It is a channel where I dive into all things fun, nerdy, and nostalgic to me. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Laters. Bye.